Hello everyone, you're now with me, Ruben Gomez for TVS Nightline. Now, let's moving on to the news. The CANSINO vaccine will be distributed directly to the target group in rural areas and the homeless, according to Sarawak Health Department Director, Dr. Muhammad Sapian Muhammad. The single-dose vaccines will help speed up the state's vaccination program.
Telah mengkhususkan kawasan mana, pembelajaran mana yang kita akan bagikan CANSINO, ya, especially kepada tempat luar bandar lah, luar bandar yang mana dari segi logistik kita susah, kemudian juga dia punya penduduk tu mungkin tidak berada setempat, so cukuplah kalau kita suntik CANSINO yang 1 dos, ya. Begitu juga dengan kumpulan sasaran yang lain, ya, seperti ada permintaan untuk gelandangan, ya. Jadi kita cucuk 1, insya-Allah Jadi bila sampai je permohonan yang kita hendak tu, bekalan tu kita akan terus bagi kepada ni sebab kita.
He said this after paying a courtesy call to Chief Minister Dato' Patigya Bang Johari Tun Openg at Wisma Bapa Malaysia on Wednesday. Dr. Mohamed Sapian is the new director of Sarawak State Health Department, replacing the outgoing Dr. Chin Zin Hing, who retired on the 21st of May 2021. He began his duty as director of Sarawak State Health Department on June 14, 2021. Previously, he was the Deputy State Health Director of Pahang State Health Department. Abang Johari also received a courtesy call from the new director of Sarawak Foundation, Mersal Abang Rosli. Mersal began his duty as the new Sarawak Foundation Director on July 1st.
The Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee will hold a meeting to discuss the state's preparation for Phase 2 of the National Recovery Plan. According to SDMC Chairman Dato' Amar Douglas Ugambas, the meeting will also deliberate whether Sarawak will be divided into separate zones, as well as discuss its implementation.
Uga said Sarawak will utilize the 3 key threshold value indicators to move from Phase 1 to Phase 2, and so on. This is based on the number of positive cases recorded, ICU bed capacity, and the percentage of vaccine jabs administered. On the downward trend of cases, he said it could be attributed to 2 factors. 1, because of the MCO, and 2, because of the state's active vaccination program. Uga added that Sarawak is aiming to vaccinate all 2.2 million eligible residents in the state.
Hand in hand, through ups and downs, that is an apt description of the close relations between Malaysia and Brunei. On June 1st, the Brunei government has contributed medical equipment such as respiratory assistance equipment and 200 PCR kits worth 1.7 million ringgit and distributed to Sarawak, Sabah, as well as the Federal Territory of Labuan. According to Deputy Chief Minister Dato' Amar Awang Tengah Liasan, Sarawak deeply appreciates the care and concern displayed by Brunei, which indirectly strengthened the relations of both nations.
Ya, kita amat menghargai atas sumbangan kelengkapan perubatan yang disumbangkan oleh Kerajaan Brunei kepada kita. Dan ini merupakan manifestasi betapa hubungan antara dua negara ini begitu erat sekali. Dan apatah lagi dalam masa kita berdepan dengan pandemik COVID-19 ini.
Awang Tengah also called for tighter control of the entryways at the Lawas border. This, he said, is crucial to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 Delta variant, which has been detected in the Federal Territory of Labuan and Indonesia.
Karena kita tahu bahawa kita ini berdekatan dengan Labuan. Labuan sudah di varian yang Delta varian ini sudah mengakibatkan kes-kes positif meningkat di Labuan itu, dan di Indonesia pun keadaannya juga meningkat. Jadi kita perlu memperketatkan.
Awang Tengah added that the Sarawak government, through the State Disaster Management Committee, has imposed mandatory quarantine on all visitors or overseas workers of oil and gas companies from the federal territory of Labuan for 21 days. This is to protect Sarawakians from the threat of a newer, more dangerous variant of COVID-19. In other developments, Awang Tengah, who is also Minister of International Trade and Industry, Industrial Terminal and Entrepreneur Development, called for announcements related to the vaccination program to be expanded to the grassroots level. He said when it comes to rural areas, residents would often miss or overlook a few announcements related to the vaccination program. Hence, dissemination of information is important so they do not miss out on vaccination.
Meanwhile, 5,478 manufacturing sector workers have received their COVID-19 vaccine jabs on Wednesday. This figure comprises workers in Kuching, Miri and Sibu and implemented at the respective divisions' industrial vaccination centers.
Starting from today, a total of 5,478 employees from manufacturing sector are expected to be vaccinated.
Awang Tengah added that 236 companies in the manufacturing sector have registered for the Industrial Vaccination Center Program, PPVIN, involving around 43,050 workers statewide.
Cooperating with all these associations, a total of 236 companies have been registered and they expressed their interest with our ministry, Mintrade, to participate in the PPVIN, Pusat Pemberian Vaksin Industry. For the manufacturing sector, involving a total of 43,050 employees.
Aside from the manufacturing sector, PPVIN will also be open to the farming, service and construction sectors, as well as the oil and gas sector.
Hospital support services company One Medicare continues to give support in terms of manpower so long as Sarawak is dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Chief Executive Officer Zali Tuah Nelly says that One Medicare has successfully assisted the Ministry of Health in opening and operating 108 COVID-19 quarantine centres and 53 quarantine and treatment centres (PKRC) in Sarawak. Quarantine centres and PKRCs are the responsibility of One Medicare throughout the pandemic, as a company that operates under the Hospital Support Services (PSH) to ensure optimal conditions. One Medicare now has the opportunity to focus on the capabilities and company commitments in assisting hospitals, especially during this pandemic. Now, the Medical Research Institute (IMR) have completed on the two self-devices or rapid antigen tests that use saliva for COVID-19 screening. The research found that the rapid antigen tests have sensitivity levels of above 90%. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham said the details on the guidelines for the use of the self-test kits were expected to be ready next week. In May, Dr. Noor Hisham had stated that there were two companies offering the test kit for sale at local pharmacies. Throughout the use of the saliva test kits, individuals need not go to a health facility to make an initial screening to detect COVID-19.
7月12号星期一早上9点30分，我是华校生有东马歌后田玉慈的华校故事 Astro 频道122以及 My TV 尽在 TVS。
Pada tahun 2019, Malaysia berada di tempat ke-21 dari segi revenue stream mengikut nilai ringgit Malaysia adalah 2.6 bilion ringgit.
Untuk pemain-pemain dan pasukan-pasukan profesional e-sport, SIDAK biasanya training 8 to 10 hours.
Pada mulanya dilarang keras lah oleh ibu bapa, tapi mak-lamak diterima lah untuk jadi seorang atlet e-sport.
Akan berfixing items happy beranak bak tandang menua pusing kau kuanting ingat kita yang mana kita terutama di madah ke caranya and we can see 到现在
Salam sejahtera.
Warnailah hidupmu, tampilkanlah bakat baru. Sarawak pasti maju, menginspirasi duniamu.
Don't know what to do next.
失败了。
Can this be safe?
等他冷静一下。
Malaysian style.
Kau Malaysian style lah.
Peter shouldn't use the
Same spoon.
That's correct. That's good.
Yeah, that's all the other contestants say.
比我做铁花更难。猫山王，我也希望他赢了。
Welcome back. And now, a COVID-19 who escaped a quarantine facility after being tested positive for the virus was arrested this evening. The 31-year-old patient who was being treated at College Sains Kesihatan Bersekutu KSKB Sejaya ran away from the facility and police were alerted about the fleeing suspect. Padawan police arrested the suspect along Jalan Field Force, Putrajaya, who was accompanied by her boyfriend and transferred the both suspects to the quarantine center at Jalan Puncak Borneo. Once the individuals complete their treatments, legal action will be taken against them for violating the prevention and control of infectious diseases. The woman from Kampong Semarang, Putrajaya, claimed that she was feeling depressed at the quarantine center, which prompted her to escape. According to Deputy Police Chief DSP Lim Jiao Xiong, she then contacted her boyfriend to keep her company. He said the police were able to track down the woman's whereabouts after receiving a tip-off from the boyfriend's father. Investigation showed that she had prior criminal record for drug abuse under Section 15(1)(c) of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. The case is being investigated under Section 269 of the Penal Code and Section 22B of the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988. A teacher at a primary school in Cebu was arrested on suspicion of drug possession. Cebu District Police Chief Stanley Jonathan Ringgit said the 45-year-old suspect was detained during a raid at the school quarters conducted by a squad of Narcotics Crime Investigation Department of the Cebu District Police Headquarters. The suspect admitted ownership of the drugs and claimed he received the drugs from a woman. The suspect, hailing from Muka, will be presented in court tomorrow to receive remand orders. The case is being investigated under Section 39A(1)(a) of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952 and Section 15(1)(a) of the same Act. A 13-foot-long male saltwater crocodile was caught by Sarawak Forestry Corporation Miri Swift Wildlife Action Team at an oil palm plantation near Kuala Suai at about 8:30 a.m. yesterday. The croc, dubbed Pujang Suai, will be relocated to a nearby crocodile farm.
Ini aduan pertama di mana penduduk pekerja ladang telah digigit oleh buaya. Tempoh hari lah, lepas tu kita pergi ke kawasan tersebut di mana kita telah menangkap seekor buaya betina dan berdasarkan ke sana dekat buaya betina tersebut, memang sahlah buaya tersebut yang menggigit pekerja tersebut. Sebab ada bekas luka dekat buaya tersebut masa mereka melarikan diri daripada buaya tersebut. Ada bekas buaya itu kena ikam menggunakan parang.
Farm workers of a plantation alerted authorities after they discovered the crocodile nearby. They managed to film the creature before sending video footage of the sighting to SFC. SFC Miri SWAT immediately rushed to the location to conduct investigations and monitoring. On July 2nd, a crocodile fishing rod was set up and successfully lured Bujang Suai into the trap. According to a social media post, SFC Miri SWAT pulled the croc ashore and plans to relocate the animal to BRUNEI Crocodile Farm for further action. Bujang Suai is 7 feet shorter than Lolong, the longest saltwater crocodile ever measured from snout to tail. Members of the public who would like to report croc sightings or other wildlife can directly contact SFC's hotline as displayed.
Here's a bit of news that could raise some eyebrows. A 20-year-old youth was arrested by police early this month for impersonating a doctor for 16 days at the Stadium Perpaduan PPV in Kuching. The arrest of Shah Hairil Isman Dave was made at 3 p.m. on July 1st. According to Sarawak Police Commissioner Dato' Aidi Ismail, the arrest was made after receiving information from a Ministry of Health officer. Shah Hairil Isman Dave was charged in a magistrate's court on Tuesday for impersonating a doctor, a criminal offence under Section 170 of the Penal Code. At the moment, the prosecuting team is awaiting the suspect's psychiatric evaluation and the case will be heard at the Kuching Magistrate Court on the 17th of August. The man was impersonating a doctor and was on duty at the Stadium Perpaduan Vaccination Centre from the 16th of June until the 1st of July. The suspect also owned a stamp, name card, personal protective gear and medical equipment. His act failed when other doctors at the vaccination centre realised that the suspect was too young to be a doctor. When asked by reporters, State Disaster Management Committee Advisor Dato' Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian said he had asked for the Ministry of Health to investigate whether Shah Hairil administered vaccine jabs during his stint as a doctor at the PPV. Now, on to the next development. Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said he regarded his appointment as Deputy Prime Minister as a trust and responsibility which has to be undertaken in a sincere and honest manner for the sake of the country's political stability and economic well-being.
Ismail Sabri, who retains his portfolio of Defence Minister, said the appointment was not a privilege, but was a trust and heavy responsibility which came at a time when the country was battling the COVID-19 pandemic and implementing the National Recovery Plan. The Prime Minister's office, in a statement today, announced that Ismail Sabri had been appointed Deputy Prime Minister while retaining his Defence Minister post and that Foreign Minister Dato' Sri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein had been made Senior Minister of Security Cluster, a post previously held by Ismail Sabri. Ismail Sabri, who is UMNO Vice President, also expressed his appreciation to Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin and thanks to UMNO President Dato' Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and the whole leadership of the party for the appointment. He also thanked the members of parliament, political leaders and the people of Malaysia.
Recently, there has been COVID-19 outbreaks in psychiatric wards due to an increasing number of patients. The Minister of Health, Dato' Sri Dr. Adam Baba, revealed the outbreaks occurred in 2 general hospitals.
To ensure infections do not spread to other hospital wards, Dr. Adam said containment efforts will have to be carried out meticulously. Numerous measures have been taken to control the virus from further infecting those who are under psychiatric care. Among the steps taken is by conducting primary COVID-19 screening, and it will involve most, if not all, of the patients in the psychiatric wards.
Jam ni aku tak nak kaca. Sebab dia kaca. Betul. Nak Elia makeover anda? Boleh. Elia dan tim akan makeover anda. Jadi jangan lupa saksikan Hias di Astro 122 dan My Preview. Tim? Elia belum lagi makeover. Jangan lupa saksikan hasil-hasil setiap Sabtu 1.45 petang hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro and My Preview.
Kamu jaga aku.
Sampai bila?
Belum tahu, Kim.
Kim tunggu.
So, ada banyak beban buat Demba. Si Adel bagi Kim untuk tanggung.
Sampai bila Su nak tanggung seorang-seorang?
Pasal Kim.
Dengan Kimi. Nyada dengan Su.
Oh, jangan Su.
Hai Kimi! Dengan Duraya! Official dah!
Sayangku.
Pun kita punya niat dalam setiap rezeki, adanya rezeki orang lain. Memang adalah semangat dan jiwa saya untuk meneruskan perniagaan ini sehingga berjaya. Bagi saya, kita membuat kerja, kalau boleh kita buat kerja dengan ikhlas. Jangan lupa saksikan Gaspirasi setiap Rabu jam 9 malam hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Welcome back, and now with more global news. Now, Haitian President Jovenel Moïse has been assassinated in an attack on his home. According to a statement from the country's interim prime minister, called the killing a hateful, inhuman and barbaric act. First Lady Martine Moïse was shot in the attack and was hospitalized.
A group of unidentified individuals attacked Moïse's private residence overnight on Wednesday and shot him dead. The attack occurred amid a rising wave of politically linked violence in the impoverished Caribbean nation. With Haiti politically divided and facing a growing humanitarian crisis and shortages of food, there are fears of widespread disorder. The gunshot could be heard throughout the capital. Port-au-Prince had been suffering an increase in violence as gangs battle one another and police for control of the streets. That violence was fueled by an increase in poverty and political instability. Moïse has faced fierce protests since he took office as president in 2017, with the opposition accusing him this year of seeking to install a dictatorship by overstaying his mandate and becoming more authoritarian, charges he denied.
Now on to the next development. Noura Al-Matroushi was introduced as part of the UAE's space program, making her the first Arab female astronaut. Dubai's Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, MBRSC, said Noura was one of the 4,300 applicants assessed on scientific abilities, education and practical experience, and then on physical, psychological and medical assessments.
MBRSC said that Noura, along with Muhammad Al-Mullah, have begun their in-house training, which will continue until they join the 2021 NASA astronaut candidate class in December. Emirati national Noura Al-Matroushi, a 28-year-old mechanical engineering graduate currently working at Abu Dhabi's National Petroleum Construction Company, will join NASA's 2021 astronaut candidate class in the United States. The UAE is using its space program to develop its scientific and technological capabilities and reduce its reliance on oil. In February, a UAE probe reached the orbit of the planet Mars, the Arab world's first interplanetary expedition. The UAE has plans to launch a moon rover by 2024 and a vision for settlement on Mars by 2117.
The jellyfish board flickered a yellow glow amongst white boats docked at a southern French port. The robotic sea cleaning boat gobbled up plastic bags, discarded drinks bottles, and even used a surgical mask floating on the water.
At the port of the French city of Cassis, the remote-controlled electric-powered boat weaves around the harbour, sucking the trash into a net that it trails behind its hulls. The jellyfish boat is about the size of a suitcase and can pick up rubbish from the corners and narrow spaces where trash tend to accumulate, but which are too inaccessible for cleaners with nets to reach. It can go everywhere, said Nicholas Kolesi, who has a PhD in underwater robotics and the CEO of the company Yadis that created the boat. Kolesi said he came up with the idea after noticing, whenever he spent leisure time on the water, how much rubbish floated around the port. The jellyfish boat is not the only device of its kind. San Diego non-profit Clear Blue Sea is developing a prototype trash-collecting drone called Fred. A marine technology firm based in the Netherlands, Rand Marine, has developed a robot called Waste Shark, which has been deployed to clean up garbage in Rotterdam Harbour. According to a 2019 report published by the WWF, around 600,000 tons of plastics end up in the Mediterranean Sea yearly. The jellyfish boat is in operation at around 15 French ports and has been exported to countries including Singapore, Japan and Norway. The firm has just launched an autonomous version.
Well, that's conclude the TVS Nightline. Just a friendly reminder, if you haven't registered for the vaccine yet, COVID-19 vaccination, do register in My Sejahtera. I'm Ruben Gomez, anytime, anywhere.